So I thought we would just start with some very simple introductions, and then we'll ask a couple of questions, but I'll also invite anybody in the audience to ask any questions as we go through this conversation. So Janie, would you like to introduce yourself to the crowd?
My name is Jane Desmond.
And how old are you?
I'm 33.
And Janie, I think that you are somebody that a lot of the families have really looked up to. You've been to several of these conferences and gotten to meet a lot of the patients. What's your favorite part about these meetings?
My favorite part about these meetings is getting to hard babies.
All right. And Lisa, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Lisa Schueneman. I'm Colby's mom. She's 6 years old, and this is our first in-person conference to attend. But like Janie said, our favorite part's been kind of getting to meet other people too, and getting to see Janie in person too. That's been great. She talks to Colby on the phone sometimes, so they recognize each other when they saw each other, and it was just really cool to see everybody. And you kind of love everybody immediately. You don't expect to have those big feelings, but that's been great.
Oh, and I forgot to say, on the phone last week, all I heard at Colby was like, Janie, 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 Janie. And I'm like, Colby, say something else.
They keep it real with each other.
And Leila, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Leila. I'm 22 years old, and I'm Danny's little sister. He's 26, and so I've just been surrounded by this all my life. I don't know anything different other than Danny, and all kids like Danny. This is my whole world, so I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very glad and I think I hear him. I'm very glad to be able to talk about this right now.
And I think we'll just kind of come back down this line. Leila, what are your hopes, or what are you hoping to learn over the next couple of days as we have all of these experts here, essentially?
I'm very excited. I studied neuroscience in college. I just graduated, and so I hope to get an even deeper understanding for specifically what is happening with my brother and people like him, just to see hope for the future. My brother was diagnosed when he was 21, and that's a very long time with unanswered questions. And I can't imagine how that was for my parents, not knowing exactly what it was like, but I'm excited to finally see some progress, and fast progress.
And how about you, Lisa? What are you hoping to get out of your first in-person conference?
I'm excited to learn about research updates and where we are as an org and everything else, but I also feel like I get so much from the other parents too. Even on the street, I passed somebody with a different disorder, and we very quickly made connections about a medication Colby's taking. So just little tidbits that you don't really talk about in day-to-day life with other people, or you kind of pick up by just being here. So that's
fantastic. And Janie, is there anything you want to learn about over the next day?
I want to learn that. I just want to learn that when people have that they're diagnosed, just tell them it's okay. It's something that is gonna be healed long one, but just be yourself, and it's gonna be okay. It may take time, but it's not that hard.
And Janie, I think you've been you've really been following your own advice. You've taken some really big steps. You now live independently. Can you tell us a little bit, how long ago did you move out and how has that been?
I have been living with a housemate for 9 years in a neighborhood in Durham, North Carolina called North Street Neighborhood. It is 5 minutes away from my parents. We have a bunch of fast food places. We have so many stuff to do. And I don't even know how. And we also have this thing called Reality Ministries that I got to from 10 to 12:30. So I'm really excited for that. And I get home, my mind's like, you want to go back out? And I'm like, in 90s? No.
I think living independently, we talk a lot about cures and treatments here, but I think something that's really close to my heart is that we also just want to give privileges back to people and help them live the lives that they want to. I think all of our experiences are very different. We all have different goals in life, and I think facilitating those in meaningful ways is something that we really want to do to support this community in the long run. So it's not just about removing a symptom or finding a cure. It's really about how do we help everybody live the wholest life that they can. Lisa, when you're thinking about Colby, what are your hopes as you're looking forward to Colby growing up?
I really just want her to be happy. I want her to feel loved. It's hard to talk about that without getting emotional because, I think when you first get the diagnosis, you're so focused on the medical side and what is she going to accomplish and what will she be able to do. And I just really want her to feel supported and to know that there is no, never say never. She may not walk, but she surprises us in other ways. Her humor and her speech and just things that we didn't expect her to do, she does. So I think letting her lead the way is really the best we can do to support her. We do keep her in therapies and try to help keep her strong and keep her, try to keep her healthy as much as possible. So that's definitely important. But more importantly is that she is happy and proud to be who she is. That's really most of it.
And Leila, I think Danny represents one of the groups I talked about. Is he went a long time without knowing that it was a KIF1A mutation that was causing this, and I'm curious about what the transition was like for you and your family as you went from not knowing to having this genetic diagnosis, and how you think about that now and how it's changed your hope for the future.
I think knowledge of anything is always, it's sorry, knowing exactly what is different about my brother has helped in many ways, because before you just have to label with whatever it needs to be labeled with to get some government aids and schools to help you out. But now that there is an answer, then that means there is something to look forward to, because before it was just, I never thought that we would have an answer to what is up with Danny, and we would just have to kind of deal. And now there's something that we can strive towards. But for me, there isn't probably much that can be done with Danny, But my biggest goal when it comes to helping him, it's pushing the understanding of difference to other people. I find, especially growing up with that sort of built-in empathy of being surrounded with kids like Danny, that there's not enough people that, it's too often that I hear my brother's condition be the butt of the joke, or people using it to demean another person. And that was really frustrating to hear growing up, because that's my brother. I'm gonna ride and die for that man. So I really hope that with knowledge comes more advocacy and spreading the word about it, so that it's not funny anymore, because it never was.
That's kind of tackling, and I think it's really important. There's so much that siblings do to stand up for and support the individuals with CAN. And I think often we focus so much on the disorder itself, but this is really a family consequence, right? It affects all of us. And when we think about improving lives, we can think about it from the perspective of how do we improve the lives of everybody in the family unit. And that can mean a lot of things. Switching from kind of, defending from those kind of comments, I wonder, when you and Danny are just hanging out, what's your dynamic like?
I always talk to Danny, even if he's not going to talk to me back. He's my best secret keeper. I know he's not going to tell anyone anything. He's just so comforting to know that, we share so much DNA and, we are so similar, but other people just can't see that dynamic, maybe. I know when we were younger, I could not leave his side ever. And now as I've grown up a little bit and I'm a little farther from home, it's very hard, and I always think about him in anything I do. Even if I'm not with him, he is my motive force for life itself. So that's our dynamic.
That's fantastic. And Lisa, I think one of the greatest moments that we had in this last week was when we got to see Lisa meet with Emery, and they kind of crawled next to each other and said hi to one another, and I think we all had a very cute moment with that. What does bring Colby joy? What does it mean for Colby to be happy?
Colby's pretty happy in general. I think you're probably hearing the other side of her a lot this week as well. If you hear the screams, that's probably her not getting her way. So getting her way is one thing that makes her very happy. But for the most part, music and water and attention and people and seeing friends. This whole week, once she discovered there was an upstairs room that she could crawl and be free in, that every request all day has been upstairs. It's time to go upstairs, because she just wants to be free and explore and not, we have to follow her around a lot, and we're, stopping her head with corners and watch out for that. And so anytime there's an open space, it is like she has been set free and has this independence just to be. And she wants that more than the walker. She wants it more than the wheelchair. She just wants to go as fast as she can. So she likes dancing, and her siblings. We have 4 teenage siblings that deserve a lot of credit. We brought them along, and they help with her a lot. It's little bits and pieces, but even being able to run and take a shower real fast and know somebody can sit with her is a big blessing for us. But they play with her, and she talks about them all the time and looks up to them, and that's a big part of her joy too. And I think she's learned a lot from them. So there's a little bit of teenage sass that comes along with the thing. So if she says bruh or peace out, they get credit for that too.
And Janie, what do you like to do for fun? How do you like to spend your time?
So I love to hang out with friends, especially Colby, because if she wants to hang out with me, I'm like, okay, where do you want to go? Because I'm not going to, like, leave her. I'm going to be with her no matter where she is. And no matter where the locations is, like if we're here, we'll play here. If we at ice cream, we'll be at ice cream. So I'm not gonna leave her side ever.
No.
If she thinks I am, I'm not.
We are today, we're going to be talking about a lot of different symptoms over the next couple of days. We're going to be talking about movement and vision and speech and communication. If the researchers could improve one aspect of your life, if there was one thing that could make life a little bit easier, what do you think that would be, Janie?
This is a good question. If my life could be really easier, I would have Cabernet or Desafil. But I want it to be disappeared forever, but I know that's not going to happen right now. So I'm just going to do what I do, and hopefully I'll be better in the future.
And I can see that you got some pretty stylish glasses on right now. How have those been working out?
It's been really good. It's been really good, except it dies every time I take them off. I'm like, dude, I just put these on like 13 minutes ago. Why?
For those of you who haven't seen her or met Janie before, she's currently wearing some Ray-Ban glasses that are some Meta glasses that are able to help a little bit describing what she's seeing and things like that. I'd like to repeat the same question for Lisa and Leila. Lisa, what is something in the research sphere that you would like to see us dedicating resources to, or what's an element of Colby's life that you'd like us to work on improving?
I agree with Janie. If we could just cure canned, that would be the easy answer. I think for Colby, it's hard to speak for her. I do think vision impacts her a lot, and probably the most. Having CVI, one day she can see a little bit more, and the other day it doesn't seem like she's seeing as well. So I know that it impacts her when she comes into a room and she can't tell who all's in the room. And she doesn't really let it stop her. I mean, if she's going to go into a room, she's going to go full force into that room until she hits something just to know it's there, or she'll map it out. And she doesn't have any fear, but we do. So that ends up being, a hard part of daily living where we have to be hyper vigilant because she will just go. And somebody has to be watching Colby at any given time, which then in turn takes away her independence too. So it's hard on us, and that's hard on her. We always have like a eyes on Colby, who's got Colby, thing being shouted around the house. Health-wise, we do have the epilepsy concerns, and that's a big one because we do know that can cause more regression as well. So that is my bigger fear. And then neuropathy and just her being able to, just do more for herself, not for us. But I guess in the end, yes, everything. But those are the biggest concerns I would think is the vision, as far as if I had to pick one that impacts her the most.
And Leila, I'll ask you the same question, but we are going to shift into opening up for any questions from the crowd as well. So if you do have a thought or a question, raise your hand in the meantime, and we'll get a mic out to you. But Leila, what would your hopes be?
I have to also agree with vision. And I would also say the slowing degeneration of especially his strength. Danny used to be able to hold himself up against the wall and walk around. And now he can't do that. Or he would help my mom get himself in the wheelchair, like adjust himself a little bit better. But now it's sort of all on my mom and I, or my mom and my dad. And, you know, he's getting a little heavier and it gets a little harder to manage. And so just for their sakes and my mom's back's sake, to kind of slow down the progress of it getting worse, or just finding ways to help them keep their strength.
I did have one last question, because you did mention that you're interested in neuroscience, and so I'm wondering, do you go down holes of looking into neuroscience from a Dandy perspective, where you have a question about something and start digging in?
Absolutely, I get very personal with it. Like, I think I come into things with maybe a different perspective, having grown up with a more personal point of view from it. And so I definitely do. The second Danny got his official diagnosis, I was in those like Google depths of everything. I just couldn't help myself. But I knew, since I was in like first or second grade, I was telling people I was going to be a brain doctor. So I'm just trying to make it work.
I think that's really important too. We're talking about a lot of complex information, and that should not be divorced from the emotional aspect. It's really important that we're integrating those two things, right? Because emotions are about priorities, they're about fears, they're about the things that we want to see changed. And when we integrate that in with the information that we have, we can ask better questions, and we can also be more sensitive with the solutions that we come up with. So if you guys are at any point feeling emotional and feeling like that is hindering your ability to communicate, bring the emotion to the table too. I think I've already cried a couple times while I've been here. I hope that you guys are also open and vulnerable with that, because that's the best way that we can pair our work, is with emotion and in our knowledge side by side. Does anybody have any questions for any of our panelists? Of course you do. I knew I could count these.
Oh, that was wonderful, guys. Honestly, I love that we started out with that. Actually, I have a question for you, Leila, because I have an older daughter as well. And one of the things I always wonder is that degeneration part of getting older is that when our children are young, they're more, you can carry them and push them and force them, and then you get to the teenage years, and then you hear that teenage sass that you talk about, and somehow that didn't escape the Can children, they just have that. And so sometimes that degeneration, do you find with Danny that the degeneration takes over from the amount that you can put in, or do you feel like he's able to put all of that in? I haven't met Danny, and I'm hoping I can.
I would say that with Danny, it's hard to tell because he can't communicate all of his emotions well, but being around him for so many years, you can kind of read him really easily. But there is a little bit less of an effort on his part, and it does, I don't know if it's frustrating, just as frustrating for him as it is for everyone else, because obviously maybe we feel like we're the ones carrying the weight of that, but I can't imagine what it must be like for him to personally feel himself getting weaker and not being able to have that same support on his own. So yeah, I would say there is just weakness over time, and it's hard to see, but my parents, they are very strong people, both emotionally and physically, and they managed to make up for it and give him as complete of a life as he can possibly experience. And me too. Thank you.
Hi. Sorry, I can't stop crying and also laughing. It's all wonderful. I'm Rohan's mom, and this is Rohan's dad. And Leila, this is a question for you also. We have a younger daughter. So Rohan is 10 and our daughter is 6. And I feel like from day one, she was like, I don't know, 6 going on 16 and all the things. And I think we're very grateful for her, but just as a parent of, a child, that has something like KIF1A, and then also a younger sibling that has to go on. I just want to know if there's, what we can do as parents to make sure that she's also getting what she needs.
I definitely understand the 6 going on to 16. I feel like from a very young age, you have to take on different roles, different understandings. You have to understand very quickly that, maybe you can't come to everything and maybe you can't do that. And we get it. Like, it's hard, but we get it. And just communicate, I think, is the best way to get it through. Kids are smart. We know how to handle very difficult situations. And as long as you communicate and let us know that we're still heard and our opinions matter and you're there for us, of course, and you come to what you can, we're going to be grateful for that. And we see the strength that you put in and how hard it is to have other kids like that are differently abled. And so it's difficult. It's not going to be easy for sure, but I feel like if anything, I don't want to know the person I would have been without my brother. I think having my brother grew me into the person that I am, and I am pretty proud of that person. So I wouldn't want it any other way.
Also, can you please come meet like you?
Yes, of course. I would love to.
Hi.
1 second.
Oh.
Oh, Luke, 1 second. Can I borrow this? Yes. I know we're collecting some questions from the audience in person, and I also wanted to join our online participants. Here is where your first opportunity is to submit Q&A. And that also goes for anybody in the room. If you don't feel like talking through the microphone and you'd rather submit it through here, we'll also be able to take a look at those. You can upvote them as well. So if you have a similar question, it kind of rises to the top. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Is this the right time? Thanks for all of this. And this question kind of follows off of Rohan's family's question. We have an older son, Nat, too, and I'm constantly feel like I'm making mistakes with him as parenting an older sibling. And I know other siblings in here, maybe Ashira and so many others. I'm wondering if there's one piece of advice you could give to parents who are possibly struggling with guiding other siblings. What would that be?
I think other siblings, naturally, it's going to feel, we're going to feel those absences or those slight glass moments where maybe we feel like we're not being as seen as our siblings because we understand that they are in need of more attention. But to understand that every kid needs attention. And so sometimes I would say a piece of advice would be to maybe give them a moment where they feel like they're the star of the show, or something that truly only involves them. Maybe if you can have someone maybe take care of, I know my mom would ask a helper to take care of Danny, and then they would take me and do something. And I felt very special in that moment, and I felt very grateful. Again, communication. I think sometimes we give kids a little less credit than they, they're very understanding. And as long as you communicate and talk to them and let them know that they are seen and they are heard and that you're sorry, that this is the way that things worked out, but it's the way that things worked out, that they will feel hurt and they will feel like you are there for them. And I feel like that is all that they need. That's all that they want, is just to feel heard.
Hi, Leila. I have a question. You said that your brother, sorry for the way I'm going to stop it, other people made fun of his condition. The question is, how did you react, and how can people react? Because, I mean, of course it's awful, but we have a different perspective of it. So how would you, what do you think is the best way to react to those situations?
I probably couldn't tell you the best way to react, because when I was younger, I was a lot more emotional, and I'm still emotional. I would start crying when I was young and someone said some joke against anyone with special needs, and then those tears became anger. I was always the protective little sister. You know, I came to stand his ground. I would call them out for their ignorance, and then I would storm out of the room very dramatically. And then I sort of turned to more education where I could. I know some people they don't have the fortune that I did to be able to grow up around so many different people. And truly, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the people that think it's funny to make fun of people that are different, because what a blessing it is to be surrounded by so many people that are so different and have so many different experiences and view the world in a beautiful way, truly. Like, as Janie describes, you have an amazing point of view of the world. And I feel sorry for them that they don't get to experience life the way that I did and the way that they get to.
Hi, I have a question. As a parent, so my little girl, she's 4. Ooh, emotions. As a parent, how do you best tell other parents? So Riley is mild, so when you look at her, you don't see a difference until you start to interact with her. How do you inform other parents as I navigate like a toddler and play dates, and she's gonna be in like a gen ed mixed preschool now versus just special needs preschool, of explaining that there may be some differences, but she still wants to participate and do everything the same as like on level age. And I'm in that moment of like, okay, she doesn't look like she's different, but you'll start to kind of see like maybe she can't run as fast because she's gonna fall all the time, or she can't communicate as well, or she gets dysregulated and she needs more moments than a normal child. It's not just throwing a temper tantrum, so that she can still play with others.
With Colby, we kind of felt that a lot in the beginning when it wasn't as obvious, even just as a baby. She was really cute and, in the stroller, and nobody would know that anything, was going on with her at that phase. So I kind of worried about that myself. But I think parents are more open to hear you if you do tell them. I think being honest and just setting the stage for Colby, giving a heads up probably would help the other kids. We have, even people in her life that do know, and the kids are the ones that seem to, either they'll respond in the sense of, I don't see any difference at all. You're just another kid and you're playing with me, and that's awesome. And some don't know how to address or speak to her because she will say hi over and over again until you ask her something else. So it has helped for us to be kind of vocal about Colby. I know I'm more vocal online than a lot of parents, and I post about her, but part of that was to share about Colby and to raise awareness of KIF 1A, but also awareness of disabilities, and for just it to be more normalized so that other people do know how to interact with kids like Colby. But to answer your question more specifically, it's hard. We've gone into the kindergarten performance and felt that, wait, we're all alone. Nobody else is in this boat, and I'm seeing her. But Colby was on the stage and sang and did her thing, and I didn't really owe an explanation for her. So I'm saying to be upfront. I'm also saying you don't owe an explanation, and that's kind of contradictory. But I think you just have to figure out the people you're with, what they're going to be receptive to, and then also, if they're not receptive, you don't have to. You don't owe them anything. Now, for her sake, you want her to find people that are gonna love her and embrace her, and just like any of my kids, not everybody's gonna do that with your kids. So I'm not kind of rambling here, but I guess there's not an easy answer, but I think part of that is setting the stage as her parent and helping to explain it, and just being honest and being proud of who your kid is, and helping her as she needs it. Give her. I saw her, and she's dancing and having a blast and adorable, and I think most people will see that in her too. And all kids are gonna have their moments and their breakdowns, or need their space. So when they do, I don't think people are gonna give you as hard of a time as you might fear, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll add to that because I think you're so right. I think we're harder on ourselves, right? And like many of us on an airplane and there's a screaming kid, we're all like, yeah, there's a screaming kid, but there's a parent that's even more anxious, right? Because they're trying their best, right? And it's out of our control, a lot of this. And most kids are gonna pick up on your energy, right? And so the calmer we all ride the storm, hopefully some of that calmness helps even people who don't know our situation. They might be anxious for us as well. And if we show we're calm and it's not ruffling our feathers too much, maybe that gives them some privilege to kind of relax as well. I'm gonna jump in because I do want to keep us on schedule. I know we started a little bit late. There are 2 great questions online that I want to be aware of. So is there a support group for siblings? If anybody knows of one, that would be amazing to share. I think that there are some great kind of broad umbrella rare disease groups out there that do have some sibling focus. I believe one in particular is Connection. Let me find the name and get back on that. Dylan, do you remember the network connection network?
I don't, but I did want to bring attention to the fact that a lot of the ways that we've grown in the last 2 years started right at our 2023 conference. And so I know that there are a lot of siblings here, and I would just encourage you guys to talk to each other, share your experiences. I know there are things my brother and I know about each other that my mom never found out, or at least so we say. So this is a great opportunity to start building those networks. And I think if we start talking to one another here, this is a great opportunity for it.
The next question, and then we're gonna break for 15 minutes. Is that right, Dylan? Yeah, okay. The next question from Corey. So I know Corey, he's still a relatively newer parent to this diagnostic journey. And his question, does it get easier over time to hold it together? I think it's a great question. I welcome all of our newly diagnosed families into our community with an email, with a phone call, with a Zoom meeting. And I think the biggest thing I try to drive home is give yourself time. It's overwhelming. We give you a ton of information because information is what you want at first, and then it's almost too much information, right? And so it's like, take it a chunk at a time. The first year is rough, and maybe just have that expectation. I think the answer is yes, because I think knowledge and an answer, like we spoke about earlier, helps give you power, helps drive your energy, and helps guide you long term. So I think we'll leave it at that. 15-minute break that we can all kind of stretch our legs, use the restroom, fill up any drinks, check on any kids you might need to. And then, Dylan, what time are we, if we do a quick time check, what time do we want to?
We'll be meeting back in, it looks like about 10 minutes now to keep on schedule.
Okay.
But before we break, can we just give a big round of applause to the vulnerability on the stage and everybody sharing their experiences? And I encourage you to all take this as inspiration to share your stories throughout the next couple of days too. So we'll be back in a little bit, and thanks for joining the first session.
And our next speaker, just drum roll please, we'll hear from Dr. Wendy Chung. So we'll see you in 10 minutes.